All right, so we've got already Imam Jawad. All right. Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
alaikum assalam, huzur. All
क्या
right.
क्या हाल चाल है?
How, Bas lillahi alhamd, things are good. As
Alham-
always, Allah be praised. How are you doing? And
Alhamdulillah. I was enjoying the life of Miqdad radiallahu anh. I've read it
radiallahu.
before, but the way sometimes people tell this, the lives of these great people that were indebted to it, it brings that love back
Yeah,
in.
it is. Honestly, it's, inspiration is in many, it can touch every aspect of our life. Like when we see people exhibiting courage, we don't have to be facing the same situation as them, but we could be facing our own battles, our own kind of metaphorical battles, our struggles in life, and we just, we kind of drink from that well of inspiration, and we think, yeah, chalo hum bhi zara si himmat kar le, yaar, a bit of courage, and yeah, maybe we can make this work as well. So yeah,
I was just on the title that you chose today. Power of choice. I was in and out during the beginning part
sure.
because it was early over here, so I was busy at home.
That's the story of our life, really, with this with this dunya, just in and out.
Yeah, in and out. So I was just thinking about the power of choice. And I was just thinking
Yeah,
about, for example, how there is power in the choices that we take, but I think
yeah.
there's actually even a greater power when you take responsibility for the choices that you take.
Wow,
So I was
that is
thinking of,
so
for
true.
example, Adam alayhi salam, right? Adam alayhi salam makes a mistake. However, he doesn't blame the other, right? He doesn't blame, for example, shaitan, or he doesn't blame the other external factors. He takes that responsibility on himself and
Wow, that is
says,
so profound, man.
I made the decision. And then that's why he says
Mm.
that I have wronged myself. And then he takes responsibility of the actions that he took.
That is, Imam Saab. That is, honestly, that is incredibly profound. I just you saying that, it's like you said. There's many things that at times we may know, but we don't. We realize them differently if and it hits differently if expressed in a certain way. Now, I never really thought of it like that, and now that you say it, that yeah, Adam alayhi salam, like the Quran highlights the incident, the story as him fatab, that he kind of repents himself. He doesn't displace guilt, and doesn't try to displace blame. And even if it is, sometimes there's a great it's like majestic in the sense that even if there are explanations, and I feel personally that now that you say this, that this is probably one of the main morals of this story of Adam alayhi salam, because on many occasions there's explanations. It's not even there's it's not about, things are not even about somebody trying to be evil. Things can be about people trying to just do good, just trying to, as in good for themselves. They're not trying to cause harm or anything. And so, yet, when things are wrong and there may be legitimate explanation, in sometimes just saying, look, rather than, because it becomes, because in life, in the dunya, this just becomes an argument then, doesn't it? And it's just always, yeah, but you're not seeing it from my point, to accept it, say, you know what, you're right. If not, even if there were reasons, I can learn better from it. You
And
know what, next time, yeah.
there was an example of this, right? So I was thinking about, for example, a car accident, and I was doing a
Yeah.
mental sort of game in my head. I said, like, if I got hit by a car, how would I react to that? And then I started playing out the
As
different
in by the
scenarios.
by the laws of physics and gravity, how would you react?
No, no, how would I react to the person hitting me?
Oh, you mean in a car? Sorry,
If
I thought you
I'm
meant
in a car,
physically getting hit by a car.
no,
I
no.
was
So
thinking, why are you thinking of these this masochistically of these kind of torturous events to be grateful to God. Saying like, okay, so if I got run over by a tractor, it's like
So, so no, I was trying to think if I was in a car and another car hit me, how would I react to that? And I was just thinking about like experiences in my life, car accidents I've been in, and how I've seen, for example, when, for example, the car I was in as a kid, maybe
yeah.
we were at fault. How did the other person react? And then maybe
Wow.
we were
Okay.
hit. Maybe we were hit. How did we react? And I was sort of thinking, when we get hit in a car accident
Yeah.
and we're not at fault, it's not
Mhm.
our fault. However, how we react to that event is in our control.
Yeah.
So
That's
either
such wow. So true, Sheikh. So true.
so what I was thinking was, if we could look at life like that. So
How would you react? I'm curious. What are
well
you?
well to be honest, now it's a lot different from the Quranic
Allah.
guidance,
Allah, kya baat hai.
but
Now
maybe
Imam Jawad is going to put that. Is it? It's Canada, isn't it? Canada. Does it also gun crazy? Like it's not gun crazy like in the
no,
States.
not that much.
Okay. So otherwise, I thought he's going to put away the AK-47 and go, "Chalo, I'll take the tasbih."
No,
Right.
but
So,
but maybe, in my naive days, maybe I would just scream at someone, or maybe just react in a way like, oh, maybe if I'm in
you know,
pain, obviously I would yell. But
oh my
what I
God.
mean is like, I wouldn't yell and make the situation worse for the person,
Like
right? Because what had to be done is done. However, how I react to that situation, in any situation in your life, if you just focus on what you have control over,
yeah.
and that's the message I took from the
Wow.
event of Adam alayhi salam's life, right? That what we have control over, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about. Is that
Absolutely.
how did you react to that
You see,
person?
because if I could just add to that, Imam Saab, is that you see, because there is a difference. You see, you could be justified if a person hits you, crashes into you. Um, you like a reaction is justified, but this is where you rise above just simply reacting, because no person in their sane mind is willfully going to want to hit your car with their car. This is equally as damning for them, because they know that, damn, it's, I've messed up here, because they're going to suffer more as a consequence. They, on two occasions that come to my mind, I was that I recall, but not in a dangerous way. Actually, one time was with a bit of force, but I was okay. That somebody had crashed into me on two occasions. When I say crash, one time it was a crash. I was stopped at a traffic lights, and this lady came, and she just, all I heard was just like bang, and it's so weird because you hear the sound first, and you try to figure out what it is, and then you realize the car's skidding, and the car just went, and nobody was ahead of me, and it was like a wet road. It had been raining, so the car at that time, I used to drive a Golf, and it just went like just skid ahead, and it just kind of stopped, like maybe like 10 meters further. It just kind of, because the road was just all wet. That was one time, and the other time, I was actually parked. I was parked outside a shop, and it was Eid morning, and I'd just come back. I'd shalwar kameez. I was sitting in my Range Rover, and the car ahead of me, the lady, once again a lady. I'm not making a judgment here. She had, I don't know. I think she tried to start her car and stalled, and it jumped, like the car leaped, or I don't know whether she started it in reverse or whatever, but it came straight back, and it just went bang into my. And the first thing I thought was, damn, did I accidentally drive forward? And I looked, and my car was switched off. It wasn't even on. And I thought, huh? And then I realized, oh, she's hit into me. And, on both occasions, I Qasam say, this is like, honestly, like my first reaction was to get out and see what the hell has happened here. And on both occasions, the damage was reasonably imperceptible. Like I couldn't see, like I'm sure they, like later on we realized on both occasions there was some tiny amount of damage, like the bumper had been slightly realigned and stuff like this, and
Color.
but very minimal damage. And I'm being honest with you, like and Allah knows as a witness, I on both occasions, would have let it slide. Even on with the Range Rover, I would have let it slide because I couldn't see any real damage, and I just thought, wallahi, I was calm. And on both occasions, the women started shouting at me, and I couldn't believe what the hell is going on. Like the audacity, like on the time with the Gulf, where the lady had actually slammed into me in my car. I got out the car and went up to her, and I said to her, I just said, like, can I have your insurance? And she just started shouting. She goes to me, what the hell's wrong with you? And she started saying to me, are you insured? And they both said this to me. And it really annoyed me that the second one, even more so, because I think the second one thought, oh, he's in this car and it's a bit flashy, and he's wearing, I don't know, I'm assuming I'm projecting, like maybe she thought, he's stepping out in this shalwar kameez, and maybe I doubt it, this guy is going to be insured. On both occasions, their attitude, and wallahi, had they just come out and been normal and just said to them, just being honest, like which it was, that it was an accident. Obviously, they wouldn't do that purposely. Nobody's going to hit somebody purposely. And I get that. And I couldn't see any damage. And if they just said, look, I'm really sorry, I didn't notice, I was distracted, I would, to me, it was over and done with. Like, I just wasn't fussed because I couldn't see any damage. So on both occasions, them shouting, and I couldn't believe that. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, are you actually shouting at me for crashing into my car? I thought the goddamn nerve. And on both occasions, I took it through, followed through with action. And I made sure that they had to pay for that. Like they had to, because you know what? That was like, because it's and the audacity, what's so funny is the second time, the Eid one, just to kind of, I was standing outside a shop. It was like morning, and the shopkeepers were standing outside watching this. And I get out the car, and she starts shouting. And I said to her, look, listen, you need to calm yourself down. And I went and took photographs. She goes, don't take photographs of my car. I said, look, and then I said to her, can I have your insurance details? She said, I ain't going to give you anything. I said, that's fine. I'm going to call the police. And then she's like, she goes, I'm going to call my boyfriend. I thought, well, this is not really the time for me to start a new relationship. If that's what you're offering in compensation, I'm not really interested in you. I said, good, call him. I said, I'm right here, call him. So I walked into the shop where I was going. I obviously I took a photograph of her reg and everything, and the thing, and then I called the cops, and the cops said, look, have you taken the reg? They said, well, it's illegal for her not to share details. They said, look, just take the details and take the photographs and just leave. They said, that's fine. So I went into the shop, and the shopkeeper said, look, we witnessed it all. We're witnesses that, it's not your kind of thing, not your fault. And the lady's is being very rude. I did my shopping. I walk out, and her boyfriend's standing there. And you know what? I really felt sorry for this guy, because you could tell that this was clearly one of those cases. And she's, you know what, when I was walking into the shop, she was yelling to her boyfriend on the phone saying, oh, you know what, he's intimidating me. And I was on, when she was saying that, I was on the phone to the police at the time. And I said, look, nobody's intimidated. I said, you don't need to lie. I said, there's people watching. Yeah. I said, nobody's intimidating you. I just asked for your insurance details. And the police could hear that as well. So when I came out the shop, the boyfriend's there now. So he obviously, he can see me. And so I walk up to the car, and you could tell he was so fed up with her. You know what? He was so fed up with her. And so I walked up to him, and I said, look, she's crashed into my car, or she's driven into it. And I said, I asked for the insurance details. So And so he looks at the car and he goes, it doesn't look so, damaged. I said, true. But I said that, you know what, I'm going to get it properly checked up by Range Rover. So, and he goes to me, yeah, of course. He goes, of course, mate. What details do you need? And so he's giving me the details. I take him down. And she's like, don't give him the details. And he starts shouting at her, like, saying, shut up. Yeah, I do my head in. And I thought, look, what is wrong with people? Like, look, to be honest, I was going to let whatever damage it was slide because it wasn't major damage. And on top of that, you've taken it to a point that I've reported it to the cops. You've had to try to drag your boyfriend into it, who clearly does not want any trouble. The boyfriend comes, he's more fed up with you, thinking that, you know what the hell are you dragging me into? Like, okay, you've crashed into the guy's, or you've hit his car. It's an accident, for God's sake. You're trying to, what you want to turn this into something else. And so it's like a little bit of akhlaq goes a long way. And in this case, to be honest, they were at fault. But my point was, even if you're not at fault, a bit of grace, this message from the Quran that, look, to always, there's, amazing hadith that al-anatu min ash-shaytan wal-hilmu min ar-rahman. That, this reactionary temperament is from the shaitan, and composure is from Rahman. And it's beautiful that it doesn't even just say God, because it's from God, but it says Rahman, because it's a Rahman. That if you can hold yourself, it will always benefit you, always.
Yeah, and I was just thinking of this now to I was just thinking of Taif, and how the Prophet ﷺ, how he doesn't hold it against them. He doesn't hold it against them. He cares more about how he's reacting, right? He's more focused on how should I react, even though Jibreel alayhi salam is giving him the offer of the 2 mountains, right? But he's saying, it's how he's reacting. That now, when you look at it, it's always how the individual is reacting. Like if you look through this lens at all the prophets and messengers through the Quran and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you start to see how it's their individual reaction to what others are doing.
Honestly, we take so much. One of the days I'll go over the story of Amr ibn Tufail, and it's this person who was from Amr ibn Sa'sa'a, from Qais Aylan, from this very fighters tribe, and he's part of the people who kill all the the Qurra that the Prophet sends to teach Islam. And he's like a nephew or something of Mullah ibn Sinna. But I'm going to go through this story some point. And he's like one of these, he's not just, he is feared, and he's like, he's a murderer, but he's very belligerent. Like he has this attitude that he'll just kill people for a joke. And this is and he doesn't like Islam. And in the 9th year of Hijri, when the delegations are coming, he comes with Bani Tamim. There's the Bani Amr ibn Sa'sa'a come. He comes to the Prophet, and the Prophet can, sometimes you can, it's amazing. Allah puts in our hearts that we can almost, the hearts have a frequency. You meet someone and you can just tell this is trouble. Like somebody, nothing's happened. Person hasn't said anything, but you can just tell that, yaar, kuch gadbad hai. There's it's true, isn't it? Like in life, sometimes you.
Kuch to gadbad.
That's the thing. One of the times I'll mention I've mentioned it before, like the incident, when I went on my kidnapping in Cairo. But that moment in the car, I sensed, like you sense something's wrong. But you downplay it. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he comes to me in Medina, and some people get happy thinking, oh, he's going to become a Muslim. But he comes with the plot with another guy, and he says to him, what we'll do is, I'm going to go with no sword, because obviously if I go, they're going to be very suspicious. You carry your sword. I'm going to he says to him, I'll get Muhammad, like I'll get the Prophet to a side. I'll make him facing me. We'll be away from the people. You strike him. And this was an assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And the Prophet ﷺ senses something's wrong with him, and he says to the Prophet that he comes and he says that he says, "Ya Muhammad," he says, "I want to talk to you." And the Prophet says, "No." And the Prophet, no, because he was responsible for the death of so many Sahaba. And the Prophet says, "No, until you bear testimony." And he says, "Look, just come with me." And the Prophet says, "No." And the Prophet can see shar in his eyes and feel it, and the other person, and at this point he says to the Prophet, "Look, I'm carrying no weapon. Look, I've got no, just come to this side, I want to talk to you." And the Prophet goes, he says, "Okay." And he comes on a side to him, and he has the Prophet facing him, and his other mate comes behind, and he's got a dagger or a sword or something. And his plan was, as I engage the Prophet, you strike him. And the Prophet has some conversation with him, and he senses that this is wrong. And he starts doing like these kind of isharat with his eyes to the other guy, like, now, strike him. And the other person freezes. And Allah, how things work in this world by mysterious ways. And the Prophet turns, and the other person's weapon just drops. And the Prophet looks at him and says that, I sense nothing but like mischief, like from you, like trouble from you. And he says to the Prophet, he says, he says to the Prophet, "You think you're something special." He says, "Wallahi la amla annaha khaylan wa rijalan." He says, this whole of Medina, I will fill it with men and horses attacking and raiding you. And the Prophet's hilm, this is, wallahi, we take this, we learn from this character of the Prophet ﷺ that not to react. See, the Prophet didn't draw his sword or say, "People catch him," or "Let's beat him up," or "Let's do this," or "Let's do." The Prophet just looked at him and he walked, and he didn't engage him. And he says something again, and then he walks off. And the Prophet just makes a dua that, "Ya Allah, ikfini that Amir ibn Tufail, that, handle him for me. Like you handle him for me." And they say that following that, as he kind of goes off to plot, he catches a disease. Like this is to him, whether it's coincidental, but on the way home, he gets this, they say, this kind of lump growing. And he has to stop in this house, and he dies this death. And he says that, a ghudda, he says, "I have a lump and I die in this person's home with no glory." But it's amazing that, this, where the Prophet ﷺ here, this is Medina. It's not difficult to say, "Guys, jump him." It's not difficult for the Prophet to take out his sword. But no, the Prophet is teaching you, even in those moments that where somebody tried to take an attempt on his life, he teaches you hilm. That, what, don't react to it. Don't be emotional. Don't react emotionally. Don't give in to the reaction. Be calm always. There's a sublime elegance in that, isn't there?
So like when I was reflecting on that, it's for some reason I feel like sometimes it's rather not about reacting, rather it's about letting everything sink in and then dictating what action should be taken, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
because your reaction is sudden, right? It's whatever comes to your mind, you react. But if you let that sort of sink in, then it's a little bit different, right? And it just comes back to how we need to learn,
Because I
so
guess
much from the
you can
Prophet.
always react, even if it's with a delay. A person, if they want to just calculate it economically, you want to kind of look at all the equation. Well, you can always react, even if it's with a delay. But at least you can weigh everything out. You can think about it.
Yeah.
You can think, and hopefully you can choose the more compassion side.
Because
Somebody was Scorpio saying, "I've had two guys slam into my car, but they were nice and offered to fix it, so I just let them go, and it was fine."
yeah.
May
So
Allah bless.
it comes back to that idea of if you did something and you were in the fault, or maybe you were the ignorant one, how would you want someone to be with you, right? So maybe someone
They said that anti-fans and
Allah
may Allah bless everyone.
choring. May Allah guide us all and purify our hearts, and allow us to learn from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba. There's so much to learn from, and there's so much wisdom in the Ahlul Bayt and all of them, that sometimes, I think rather than just learning, I had one murshid, and he said to me, he's passed away now, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannah. He said one thing. He said, he said anybody can learn. And then, it was really weird because we were all just sitting there. No one was saying anything. We were all just sitting at the masjid.
Random. It's just, you think, is he having an episode?
Yeah, we were scared. We thought maybe a lecture is coming or something.
Is he on a DMT trip?
he just randomly, he's like, anybody can learn. And then I was like,
Allah.
what happened? Everyone got scared. And he said, anybody can learn. He said, it's not about learning. It's about who's going to apply what they learn. He said that, and then he stood up and he just left the masjid and went home.
Yeah.
And then that sort of just stuck with me. It was one of those things where, he was one of those teachers where he would say little, but when he would speak, it would be like he said something really big,
Wow.
and that really stuck with me. That's something I've like written down and everything. It's not just about learning; it's about applying what you learn.
I mean, here's. I'd like to, if I can, just footnote that. You see, because I feel that a lot of people say that statement within religious, the kind of religious sphere, but. You see, how I'm understanding it is, so just to be, because a lot of people, so they use that to say like, you've read, for example, that praying salah is always good, or praying nafal, so you should always be praying nafal, or you should always be, and even though, sure, I mean, I understand that if they can do that themselves, that's wonderful, but that's not how I'm understanding this thing, like what you're saying, this kind of axiom. See, I understand it, and this is just wanting to put that in front of you, Imam Sahib, to also get your thoughts. That, you see, I'm understanding it like to mean that, you see, knowledge or these things are like, they're like nutrients which should nourish you, and you should grow into being a better human being. And sure, like, it's not, to me, it's not about information application in the sense that, like, I've read somewhere, if you read 8 nafal after this, now why am I not praying 8 nafal? Because, to be, in all honesty, I get it that we're all lazy, and I don't think that, to me, with this would apply. It would apply more so about, it nourishes you to be a better human being to people. And sure, if you want to set high goals for yourself, that's fine, but it doesn't mean we've got to, like, now if I read something out to everyone, right, everybody who reads 5 juz a day, now why are you not acting on it? Like, that's not so these are my thoughts on it.
No, 100%. The idea that he was going for, which I understood in the coming days sitting with him, was that the idea that he was trying to push was that knowledge should help you grow as a person, and actually help you understand different people. And then one of his students, who's now considered our ustad, he actually quoted the ayah from Surah Hujurat, right? That we created you in the different groups, and so that you can, yes, so that you can get to know one another. And he said, that's the idea, that you study all these cultures, the history of all these human beings. What is the point of studying history? It's to understand where your people come from, where the other people come from, and to better understand yourselves. there should be more love between you guys, not more hatred. You know, many people, they study history and try to use history as a way to boil blood. That look at what this group did to us, and we have to take payback. You know, it's not
Yeah.
payback. Why do
It's
we have to?
amazing. Yeah.
Why do
Well, how
we
people can use things. People could use the best of things to be just still.
exactly? Why do we have to make the same mistakes they did? Why
Yeah.
can't we learn from them and say, look, they fought, but let us not be like that.
I
Let
mean,
us be the ones who hug, not fight. Who don't
wow.
use swords, use pens.
क्या बात है यार जादू जादू की जप्पी हाँ this the
जादू की circuit.
right wow people Imam Saab shukran for your kind words man it's always amazing to have you on and have a chat it's always illuminating I mean may Allah bless you take care stay blessed
all of you.
I mean people that was Imam Jawad from Canada all right as always inspiring us and illuminating us with his words